The rain wasn't gentle that Thursday. It hammered the coffin like even the sky was furious. I buried my wife of 43 years while searching the crowd for one face. Our son Marcus. The woman who never ate until everyone else had their plate, who prayed for that boy every night, deserved better than an empty chair where he should have stood. His text had come that morning. Dad, I'm too sick to travel. I'm so sorry. I wanted to believe him. God, how I wanted to believe the grief had knocked him flat, that maybe he couldn't get out of bed. The funeral director asked if we should wait. I shook my head, rain mixing with whatever was running down my face. We lowered Patricia into the ground while her sister held my arm, whispering that Marcus must be devastated to miss this. I nodded, playing along, but something felt wrong. The boy who used to sleep in our bed during thunderstorms, who cried when our goldfish died, was too sick to say goodbye to his mother? My phone buzzed in my pocket as they threw the first handful of dirt. A WhatsApp notification. I almost ignored it, but habits die hard. Marcus had updated his status 5 minutes ago. The video played on my phone screen like a bad joke. There was Marcus at O'Malley's sports bar, wearing his Manchester United jersey, the one Patricia bought him last Christmas. Beer in his right hand, his left fist pumping the air as his team missed a goal. His friends were all there. Tony, James, that idiot Kyle who still owed me $50. They were laughing, shouting at the TV screen like the world hadn't just gotten darker. Like his mother wasn't being covered with dirt 20 miles away. The timestamp said 2:47 p.m. The exact moment we'd been saying the Lord's Prayer over Patricia's grave. I watched him high-five Tony after United scored, his face red with excitement and alcohol. Not grief. Not sickness. Just pure, selfish joy. The caption on his status read, "United forever." Nothing stops me watching my boys. I stood there in the rain, my wife's relatives still throwing roses into the grave, while my son celebrated a goal. My hands shook so bad I nearly dropped the phone. Patricia's brother asked if I was okay. I showed him the screen. His face went from concern to disgust in 2 seconds flat. And then I noticed the most important detail of all. Marcus had forgotten to restrict me from his status. Amateur mistake. Fatal mistake. Something inside me snapped like a dry branch in winter. Not the gentle kind of breaking that comes with grief. This was violent, sharp, immediate. I left the cemetery while they were still shoveling dirt. Patricia's sister called after me, but I didn't turn around. 43 years of marriage, 28 years of fatherhood, and this was what it came to. I'd worked double shifts at the factory for 15 years to pay for his college. Patricia had cleaned houses on weekends to buy his football gear. We'd refinanced our home twice, once for his car, once when he needed help with his apartment deposit. 3 years he'd been living rent-free in my rental property, the one Patricia and I bought as our retirement investment. Just until I get settled, Dad, he'd promised. That was 3 years ago. Now he had a job at Morrison Tech making decent money, a girlfriend who drove a BMW, and apparently enough cash to drink at O'Malley's while his mother was being buried. I sat in my truck in the cemetery parking lot, engine running, watching that video again and again. Each loop made me angrier. The rain hammered the windshield, and all I could think was, Patricia deserved better. We both did. I grabbed my keys with one clear thought. He's going to regret this. Morrison Tech's building was only 15 minutes from the cemetery. I didn't change out of my funeral suit, didn't stop to think about whether this was smart. Sometimes rage makes its own decisions. The receptionist tried to stop me, but I walked past her like she was furniture. Marcus's boss, Frank Morrison, was in his corner office. I'd met him once at a company picnic where Marcus had introduced me as the old man. Frank looked up from his computer, confused at this rain-soaked stranger barging in. "Mr. Morrison," I said, pulling out my phone. "Your employee Marcus called in sick today. Family emergency, right?" Frank nodded slowly. "His mother passed. We gave him the week off." I turned my phone toward him and hit play on the video. Watched his face change as he recognized Marcus, saw the timestamp, heard the laughter. The video played twice before Frank spoke. "This is from today, 2 hours ago, while I was burying his mother." Frank's jaw tightened. He picked up his desk phone, dialed an extension. "Yeah, pull up Marcus's file." "No, right now." He hung up, looked at me with something between pity and disgust. "Mr. Hayes, right? I'm sorry for your loss. And I'm sorry your son works here. Worked here. One phone call. One sentence. Don't bother coming back." The termination letter slid across the desk toward me. My next stop was my lawyer's office. Anthony Russo had handled Patricia's will, knew our whole situation. His secretary tried to tell me he was busy, but Anthony heard my voice and came out himself. Thomas? I thought the funeral was today. I showed him the video. His face darkened. That boy, was all he said, then led me into his office. I laid it out simple. Marcus had been living in my rental property for 3 years. No lease, no rent, just a handshake agreement that expired when Patricia died. That was her soft heart, not mine. Anthony didn't even finish his coffee before he had the papers drawn up. 30-day eviction notice, but given the circumstances and no formal lease. He looked at me over his glasses. You want him out faster. I want him out yesterday. I can file for immediate eviction based on the verbal agreement ending with Patricia's death. He'll have 72 hours. The papers printed while Anthony told me about his own son, how he'd never pull something like this. But I wasn't listening. I was thinking about Patricia teaching Marcus to tie his shoes, staying up all night when he had fevers, crying happy tears at his graduation. All for this. 2 envelopes now sat on the seat beside me as I drove to Marcus's place. Marcus opened his apartment door still wearing the same Manchester United jersey from the video. The smell of beer hit me before his grin did. That stupid, casual grin like nothing in the world was wrong. Dad, what are you doing here? How was? He trailed off, probably remembering his lie about being sick. I didn't say anything. Just handed him both envelopes. Morrison Tech letterhead on one, legal filing on the other. His grin froze, then crumbled as he opened them. Termination effective immediately. Eviction notice, 72 hours to vacate. His eyes darted between the papers like maybe he was reading them wrong. You can't be serious, he said, voice climbing. This is Mom's funeral day and you're... No, I cut him off. This is your mother's funeral day. The one you skipped for a football game. His face went through confusion, then panic, then settled on rage. You went to my work? You actually went to my boss. He needed to know what kind of man he employed. You vindictive old. Careful, I said quietly. That's your mother's husband you're talking to. Though you clearly forgot she existed the moment they kicked off. His mouth opened and closed like a fish out of water. The neighbors were starting to peek out their doors. Good. Let them see who Marcus really was. He started shouting then, really shouting. Called me bitter, called me petty, said I was taking my grief out on him. The whole building probably heard. Mrs. Chun from Forby definitely did. I saw her recording from her doorway. But I didn't raise my voice. Didn't need to. You skipped your mother's funeral for a football game, I said, each word measured and calm. You lied to me. You lied to her memory. You spit on 43 years of marriage and 28 years of sacrifice. The hallway went silent except for the fluorescent light buzzing overhead. Marcus's face was red, but not from anger anymore. He knew the neighbors were listening. Knew they'd all seen Patricia bring him groceries every Sunday. Knew she'd been sick. Dad, please, can we talk inside? We're done talking. You have 72 hours. Where am I supposed to go? Should have thought about that at O'Malley's. I turned to leave, and he grabbed my arm. First time he'd touched me in months. I looked down at his hand, then up at his face. He let go. You'll regret this, he said, but his voice cracked. No, son. The only thing I regret is not doing this sooner. He slammed the door so hard the walls shook. Mrs. Chin stopped recording and gave me a small nod. Even she knew. Some things are unforgivable. Driving home, I couldn't stop thinking about Patricia ironing his jerseys every weekend when he lived with us. She'd stand at that ironing board, bad back and all, making sure the numbers were perfectly flat. He likes to look nice for the games, she'd say. I'd find her cooking his favorite lasagna whenever United played, even after he moved out. She'd pack it in containers, drive it over herself because he needs to eat properly. Never missed one of his games when he played in high school. Sat in those freezing bleachers with her arthritis acting up, cheering louder than anyone. When he scored his first goal freshman year, she cried so hard the other parents thought something was wrong. My baby's growing up, she'd told them. My baby. That's what she called him even at 28. Even when he forgot her birthday last year, only remembered 3 days later with a gas station card. She displayed it on the mantle like it was made of gold. He's busy, she'd said. He remembered, that's what matters. But he didn't remember her funeral. Didn't remember the woman who gave up her dreams so he could chase his. Didn't remember that she deserved at least one last goodbye. And yet he laughed while she was lowered into the ground. My phone rang as I pulled into my driveway. Patricia's mother, Eleanor, sobbing so hard I could barely understand her. Thomas, please tell me it's not true. Tell me Marcus wasn't at a bar. Word traveled fast in our family. I texted her the video without comment. The sobbing stopped. 5 minutes of silence. Then she called back. He did that? On her funeral day? My Patricia's funeral? Her voice was shaking now, but not from tears. From rage. While we were putting flowers on her coffin? Yes, Eleanor. That ungrateful little. She caught herself. Eleanor never swore. I helped raise that boy. Fed him every summer. Taught him to read. And this is how he honors us. I've handled it, I told her. He's lost his job and his apartment. Good. The venom in that one word from a 78-year-old grandmother said everything. Patricia was too soft on him. Always making excuses. He's young. He's finding himself. Well, he found himself all right. Found himself at a bar while his mother found a grave. She hung up without goodbye. Later, she'd text me. Patricia deserved better. You did the right thing. Eleanor had defended Marcus through every mistake for 28 years. She didn't defend him after that. Nobody did. I posted the screenshot in our family WhatsApp group. 37 members. Aunts, uncles, cousins, Patricia's whole side, my whole side. Just the image, the timestamp clear, Marcus's laughing face unmistakable. No caption needed. The messages started immediately. Is this real? Tell me this is old. This can't be from today. Then silence as they did the math, realized what they were looking at. Marcus's Aunt Linda wrote a paragraph about how Patricia had paid for Marcus's driving lessons when he was 16. His Uncle Carl mentioned the time Patricia worked overtime to buy Marcus's first laptop. Cousin Beth remembered Patricia missing her own anniversary dinner because Marcus had a crisis that turned out to be a bad grade. Every message painted the same picture. Patricia giving everything, Marcus taking it all. And this was how he repaid her. Then the family's golden boy, the one with the college degree Patricia had paid for, looked real tarnished now. My brother summed it up. Kids dead to me. The scene receipts piled up. Marcus saw them all accumulating, saw his family's love evaporating in real time. He tried typing responses. I could see the dots appearing and disappearing. But what could he say? Then cousin Anthony texted me privately. You might want to see this other video from Kyle's Instagram. Eviction day came fast. Marcus had spent 2 days calling relatives, trying to find someone to take his side, or at least give him a couch. I knew because they all called me after, disgusted by his lack of remorse. He actually said it was just bad timing, his cousin Marie told me. Like your mother's death was inconvenient for his football schedule. I sat in my truck across the street, watching him pack. Box after box, trash bag after trash bag. His girlfriend nowhere to be seen. His football buddies absent. Not one neighbor offered to help. Mrs. Chun sat on her stoop, openly recording. This going on YouTube? I heard someone ask her. TikTok, she replied. Already got 12,000 views from the hallway video. Marcus heard that. His shoulders sagged as he carried out his flat-screen TV, the one Patricia had bought him last Christmas with her savings. Just so he can watch his games properly, she'd said. He dropped a box of dishes on the sidewalk. They shattered. Nobody moved to help him clean it up. The landlord's maintenance guy stood by the door with new locks, ready to change them the second Marcus left. 3 years of rent-free living, over. By noon, everything he owned sat in a rented U-Haul. He looked at me through the windshield as he drove away. I didn't wave. Someone filmed the whole thing. That evening, Marcus's friend Tony sent me a folder of videos through Facebook. You should see these, Mr. H, his message said. I'm done with him after this. The first video was from the bar, earlier than the one I'd seen. Marcus was doing shots, laughing about his sick day. The second was worse. My old man's so gullible, Marcus said, words slurring. Told him I'm sick and he bought it. Meanwhile, he gestured at the bar, at his friends, at the game on 12 different screens. Living my best life. They all laughed. Kyle high-fived him. James bought another round. The third video was from after the game. Marcus was properly drunk now, talking about how funerals were outdated and performative. She's dead, he said about his own mother. What's she gonna know if I'm there or not? Rather remember her alive than see some box. His friends were starting to look uncomfortable. Even drunk, Kyle seemed to realize this was too far. But Marcus kept going, talking about how he'd been freed from obligation and could finally live without the guilt trips. Tony's last message. Patricia was like a second mom to me. I'm sending these to everyone. I saved every single video. Evidence. Ammunition. Truth. Word got around Morrison Tech fast. Frank Morrison himself made sure of it. The official reason was falsifying sick leave, but everyone knew the real story. Marcus applied everywhere. Tech companies, startups, even retail. But Spokane's not that big, and scandal travels faster than resumes. His old boss told every HR manager in town why he'd been fired. The story spread like wildfire through LinkedIn, Twitter, professional networks. The guy who skipped his mom's funeral for football became his only reference. 3 weeks of rejections. Not even interviews, just automated emails. We've decided to go with other candidates. Then Amy, his girlfriend of 2 years, dropped the bomb. I heard about it from Mrs. Chun, who heard from Amy's roommate. Amy had seen the videos, the eviction footage, the family messages. If you can skip your mother's funeral, she told him, what else are you capable of? She didn't just break up with him. She blocked him on everything, told her friends to do the same, changed the locks on her place before he could even think about asking to crash there. His whole life was collapsing like a house of cards in a hurricane, and he'd been the one to open the window. Amy's rejection hit different. She didn't just dump him, she made it public. Posted on Facebook about learning who someone really is and red flags you can't ignore. Her friends piled on in the comments, sharing their own stories about Marcus being cheap, selfish, unreliable. Remember when he made his mom pay for our dinner because he forgot his wallet? One wrote. She was so sweet about it too. Another mentioned how Patricia had apologized for Marcus missing her birthday party. He was watching a game that day too. The post got 300 reactions in an hour. Amy's dad, who owned a construction company where Marcus had applied, commented, dodged a bullet, sweetheart. We don't hire men who disrespect their mothers. That job opportunity died right there in the comment section. Marcus tried damage control, created a post about grief making people act out, and misunderstandings. Nobody bought it. His friend list dropped from 800 to 200 in a week. Even his fantasy football league kicked him out. Bad for morale, they said. The girlfriend who'd been his meal ticket, his social life, his future, gone. She gave him nothing but the truth. He was exactly who he'd shown himself to be. Even his friends started disappearing next. 3 weeks later, at Patricia's memorial barbecue, Marcus showed up uninvited. The entire family was there, celebrating her life properly this time. He stormed through the backyard gate, past cousins who turned their backs, past aunts who whispered behind their hands. Straight up to me at the grill. You ruined my life, he shouted. Fix this. Fix what you did. I didn't even look up from the burgers. Just reached into my pocket, pulled out a printed photo. Him at O'Malley's, beer raised, laughing while we buried his mother. Fix this first, I said, loud enough for everyone to hear. Gasps rippled through the crowd. People pulled out their phones, ready to record whatever came next. Marcus's face went from red to white. He grabbed for the photo, but I held it higher. Everyone here knows what you did, I said. They've seen the videos. They've heard you laughing about fooling the gullible old man. So tell me, Marcus, what exactly should I fix? His mouth opened, closed, opened again. No words came. The entire family watched, waiting. Hamburgers sizzled on the grill. Someone's baby cried in the distance. Then his sister Nina dropped her plate. The sound of breaking ceramic cut through everything. She walked over slow, deliberate, like she was approaching a wild animal. Then she snapped. Nina unleashed 24 years of suppressed rage in 2 minutes flat. You selfish piece of, she caught herself, kids were present. Mom gave you everything. Everything. Paid for your college while I took out loans. Bought you a car while I took the bus. Cooked your meals until the day she got sick, and you couldn't even show up when she died. She was crying now, but her voice stayed strong. Remember when Mom sold her jewelry to pay for your football camp? The earrings Dad gave her for their anniversary? She said it was worth it to see you happy. Nina turned to the crowd. He complained the camp didn't have good enough equipment. Aunts shook their heads. Uncles muttered curses. Remember when she missed my graduation because you had a game? A regular season game that didn't matter? She chose you. She always chose you. And you chose Manchester United over her funeral. Marcus tried to speak, but Nina wasn't done. You took and took and took. And the one time. She needed you to give something back, just your presence, just to stand there and say goodbye. You couldn't even do that. Nina, I know. You don't get to talk. You had your chance to talk at her funeral. She walked away, and the family just stared at Marcus, standing alone by the grill while his hamburger burned. Monday morning, Marcus discovered the joint emergency account Patricia had set up was empty. She'd opened it years ago, just in case something happens to one of us. Put both our names on it. Insisted Marcus should be able to access it too. For emergencies, she'd said. $5,000 sat in that account the day she died. I'd cleaned it out the day after the funeral, before Marcus could remember it existed. He must have been desperate to even check. The bank teller told me later he'd pounded the counter, demanded to see a manager, threatened to sue. Sir, the account was closed by the primary holder, she'd explained. That's his right. But I'm on the account too. We're on the account. It's closed now. The manager came out, reviewed the footage of Marcus getting agitated, and asked him to leave. He left, but not before everyone in that bank heard him complaining about his stolen money. The same money his mother had saved working overtime, cleaning houses with hands that cracked and bled. The teller told her whole break room. The break room told their families. By dinner, half the town knew Marcus had tried to take his dead mother's emergency fund. Rock bottom kept getting deeper, but he kept finding new shovels. The bank teller only shrugged. The TikTok video hit 1 million views in 3 days. Mrs. Chun had edited it perfectly. The hallway confrontation, the eviction, even found and added screenshots of the bar videos. Set it to that sad piano music that makes everything hit harder. The comments were brutal. Imagine being this trash. His poor mother. This is why I have trust issues. Then someone found his Instagram, linked it in the comments. His followers dropped from 900 to 73 in 6 hours. His football buddies, Tony, James, even Kyle, unfollowed and blocked him. Their group chat, active for 6 years, went silent the day they kicked him out. Local news picked it up. Viral video shows son's betrayal at mother's funeral. They blurred his face, but everyone in town knew. The bartender at O'Malley's said he couldn't come back. Bad for business. His gym revoked his membership after other members complained. The coffee shop where he went every morning asked him to find somewhere else. He'd become radioactive, untouchable. His high school friends, college buddies, co-workers, they all ghosted him like he'd ghosted his mother's funeral. Marcus had wanted to be famous on social media, always posting about his life. Well, he got his wish. 3 million strangers now knew exactly who he was. And the local newspaper wanted an interview with me. The reporter met me at Patricia's favorite coffee shop. I brought the photos, the videos, the screenshots, laid them out like evidence in court. She took notes while I talked about Patricia, not about Marcus, about Patricia, how she'd worked 3 jobs to support us early on, how she'd never missed a parent-teacher conference, how she'd spent her last good day making Marcus's favorite cookies, even though he never came to get them. They're still in my freezer. The headline ran Sunday. Son skips mother's funeral for football. Father responds brutally. They used Patricia's photo from our 40th anniversary, radiant and smiling. Below it, the screenshot of Marcus at the bar. The contrast was devastating. The article went viral, shared 18,000 times in 24 hours. Comments poured in from strangers who'd lost parents, who understood the weight of that betrayal, but also from people who knew us. Patricia's co-workers, old neighbors, the lady from the grocery store who always asked about Patricia's boy. They all shared memories of her kindness, her sacrifice, her unwavering love for a son who couldn't spare 2 hours to say goodbye. Marcus's shame became public record, archived forever in newspaper databases and internet archives. He showed up at my door the next day, eyes bloodshot from crying or drinking or both. Dad, please. I made a mistake, Marcus said, voice cracking like when he was 12 and got caught stealing candy. But this wasn't candy, and he wasn't 12 anymore. I looked at him standing on my porch, the same porch where Patricia used to wait for him every Sunday. He'd lost weight, his clothes wrinkled, that cocky confidence finally beaten out of him. A mistake. I kept my voice steady. A mistake is forgetting milk at the store. You made a choice. I know, but can't you see I'm suffering? I've lost everything. Your mother lost everything too. Her life. And she didn't even get her son at her funeral. He started crying then. Real tears, not the fake ones he used to use for sympathy. What do you want me to say? That I'm sorry? I'm sorry. That I'm an idiot? I'm an idiot. What else? I want you to understand that sorry doesn't resurrect the dead or undo betrayal. I remembered Patricia's empty chair at the funeral, how I'd saved a seat for him in the front row, how I'd stared at it while the pastor talked about family and love and legacy. The ice in my veins hadn't melted since that day. One chance, he begged. Give me one chance to make this right. But my lawyer had been listening from inside, and he was smiling at what Marcus just said. You want to make it right? I asked. Start by dropping the wrongful eviction lawsuit threat your buddy Kyle said you're planning. Marcus's face went white. He didn't know I knew about his visit to legal aid, his plan to sue me for emotional distress and unlawful eviction. My lawyer, Anthony, stepped onto the porch holding a folder. Mr. Hayes, Anthony said to Marcus, formal as a funeral. The lease agreement you signed 3 years ago, remember it? Rent-free, conditional upon both parents' approval. Your mother's death terminated that agreement automatically. He pulled out the document, Marcus's signature clear at the bottom. Furthermore, threatening litigation against a grieving widower looks really bad in court. Judges hate that. Marcus looked between us, realizing he'd been outmaneuvered again. You recorded me just now, didn't you? Every word, Anthony confirmed. Your admission of wrongdoing, your acknowledgement of the harm caused. Beautiful evidence if you pursue legal action. Marcus's shoulders slumped completely. Even his last desperate plan had failed. Why, he asked me. Why go this far? Because your mother can't. Someone had to teach you that actions have consequences, that respect isn't optional, that love isn't just about taking. He nodded, defeated, and turned to leave. But I had one more card to play, something Patricia left that would hit harder than any eviction or job loss. I found it while cleaning Patricia's things, a letter in her jewelry box, dated a month before she died. Her handwriting was shaky from the medication, but the words were clear. My dear family, if you're reading this, I'm gone. Please stay close to each other. Marcus, my baby, I know you're busy with life, but remember, family is all we have. Don't let football or work or anything come between you and the people who love you. Love, Mom. I made copies and mailed one to Marcus anonymously. No return address, no note from me, just Patricia's words arriving like a ghost in his mailbox. He'd know I sent it, but that wasn't the point. The point was for him to hold those words, see her handwriting, understand what he'd thrown away for a game. His Instagram story 3 days later was just a black screen with white text. I'm sorry, Mom. No one liked it. No one commented. But I knew he'd finally read it, finally understood that Patricia's last thoughts were about keeping family together, and he'd torn it apart for 90 minutes of football. He didn't call me after that. Not for days. Not for weeks. The silence said more than any apology could. Sometimes the dead speak louder than the living, and Patricia's letter was her final word. Gentle, loving, and more devastating than any punishment I could devise. Rock bottom arrived in a Honda Civic. Marcus's car, the one Patricia had co-signed for, got repossessed after 3 missed payments. I watched from my window as the tow truck pulled up to the parking lot behind Walmart where he'd been sleeping. All his belongings were in that car, clothes, documents, whatever he'd salvaged from his apartment. The driver gave him 5 minutes to grab what he could carry. 1 backpack, 1 duffel bag. Everything else went with the Honda. He stood in that parking lot holding his entire life in 2 bags. 28 years old, college educated, and homeless. The same car where Patricia had taught him to drive, where she'd put a rosary on the rearview mirror for protection. Gone. That night, temperatures dropped to 34 degrees. Someone saw him at the 24-hour laundromat, trying to sleep sitting up in a plastic chair. The owner let him stay until morning, but said don't come back. A week of that, sleeping in his car until it was gone, then doorways, then the bus station until security moved him along. No friends left to call, no family willing to answer. Life's irony cut deep. He'd laughed in a warm bar while his mother lay in cold ground. Now he knew what cold really felt like. Then I heard he visited her grave. Alone. The groundskeeper at Riverside Cemetery called me. Your son's been here every morning this week. Just sits by Patricia's grave, talking. I drove over that afternoon, parked where I could see but not be seen. There he was, on his knees by her headstone, pulling weeds with his bare hands. No audience, no cameras, no performance. Just Marcus and his mother, too late. I walked over slowly, my shadow falling across the grave. He didn't look up. I know it's you, Dad. What are you doing here? Trying to. I don't know. Apologize, I guess. Like she can't hear me. Maybe she can. We stood there in silence. Two men who'd loved the same woman differently. Him selfishly, me completely. I got 2 jobs, he said finally. Warehouse during the day, cleaning offices at night. Found a room to rent. Smallest place you've ever seen, but it's mine. Good. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I know that's gone. I just wanted you to know I'm trying to be someone she wouldn't be ashamed of. Bit late for that. Yeah, he agreed. But it's all I've got left. I looked at Patricia's headstone, the fresh flowers someone had left. Not Marcus. Those were expensive roses. He'd brought dandelions picked from the roadside. The same flowers he used to bring her as a kid. That hit different. Maybe, just maybe, he was finally learning what respect costs. 6 months now since Patricia's funeral. Marcus kept his jobs, kept his tiny apartment, kept visiting her grave every Sunday. No cameras, no witnesses, just him and whatever he needed to say to her. I knew because I had the groundskeeper keeping an eye. The family still won't talk to him. His grandmother died without forgiving him. Said she'd tell Patricia the truth when she saw her. His sister sends back his letters unopened. The cousins blocked him permanently. He's learning what I learned that December day. Some things you break can't be fixed. But here's what changed. He stopped asking for forgiveness. Stopped trying to explain or justify. Just accepted the consequences and lived with them. I saw him last week at the grocery store. He was buying the cheap bread, generic cereal, the stuff Patricia and I lived on when we were starting out. He saw me, nodded, didn't approach. There's respect and distance sometimes. He's 30 pounds lighter, looks older, moves like someone carrying weight that isn't physical. Good. That weight is Patricia's absence, and he should carry it forever. He wanted to play games with people's lives? Well, he learned what the real world looks like when you lose. And me? I still have my house, my dignity, and Patricia's memory untarnished by false sympathy. That's all I need. Marcus got his lesson in consequences. Patricia got her justice. And Manchester United? They lost the championship that year. Even the universe knows some things are unforgivable.